And great. So what we're going to do now is we're going to understand the agenda. How are we going to move forward? Therefore, there are three aspects to the DAF. Like the first aspect, or rather, right, three aspects to preparing for interview. The first aspect is what the first aspect is what you fill in your DAF. Okay, give me a second. Let me find a better one. Okay, what you fill in your DAF. That is the first aspect. Now, again, everyone says that you should prepare your DAF, quote unquote, thoroughly and whatever. But what does it really mean on the ground? Right? So we're going to go in depth into what it means to prepare your DAF in detail. Number one. Number two. Next edifice for interview preparation is your newspaper reading. We don't want to advertise for others, so let's go to probably the first page. This is what the newspaper seems like. We're going to deep dive into how should the newspaper be read. I think I've spoken about it in the past. There are two different ways to read it. First way to read it, in general, how to read the newspaper, and then how to read the newspaper 15 days prior to your actual interview. So it has to be broken down into these two strategic aspects. We're going to dive deep into what is the difference and what is the expectation. And finally, we always emphasize on previous year questions. So what does previous year questions entail in the interview? These are the previous year transcripts. And transcripts will give you a very beautiful understanding of what to expect. Because if you're just preparing your and reading current affairs, it is as if you're just reading your books without any regard to previous year questions. And of course, they always have favorite themes. They have a way to approach the questions, so on and so forth. So it always comes in handy. This understanding comes in handy. So we're going to walk through these three in the next probably 30, 40 minutes. And then we'll open the forum for questions, if any. Okay. Let's start with preparing your DAF. Probably this is how your DAF looks like. Okay. Now understand, how would anyone ask questions from your DAF? How would anyone ask questions from your DAF? It is mostly going to be a keyword-centric approach. Keyword-centric approach. I find a keyword which is appealing. The keyword can be anywhere. And that keyword could maybe trigger me to ask a question. For instance, of course, your address, you're not expected to prepare your address. What is there to prepare on your address? You're not going to remember the latitude and longitude of where you live, right? But if there's a keyword in your address, so my friend, he used to live in the Aurangzeb lane. It used to be called Aurangzeb lane back in the day. So now Aurangzeb becomes a keyword. Even though he doesn't have a background in history, knowing a little bit about Aurangzeb, his reign, comes in handy because it's a keyword which is lurking there. It might catch the attention of one of the members, and they might ask you a very casual question: what was the timeline of the reign of Aurangzeb? How was Aurangzeb's reign? Aurangzeb is said to be responsible for the dilution of Mughal dynasty thereafter. Do you agree with that? So all of these basic questions, the content is going to come from your basic source, which is Spectrum or whatever. But this question is not as imperative for someone who doesn't have that trigger compared to someone who has that trigger word. That is why everyone's preparation is going to be unique in that sense, by and large. Keyword centricism is what we have to focus on, number one. Number two, something which is different and which is appealing, right? Which really catches my fancy. So for instance, of course, this question was not asked from me in the interview, but nearly in all mock interviews, I was asked this question about my name, about the origin of the name. Always it would catch their fancy. What was the origin of the name Nilkant? Do you know the story behind it? So of course, it's a mythological story, but I knew since it was a trigger which will catch their fancy, I had prepared for it. So what you need to do is you need to just prepare these tidbits based on keyword centricism. Do you see any GS centric or in general any centric body called keyword, and anything that might catch their fancy? So again, mother tongue, usually it is going to be Hindi or whatever, unless it is very, very niche. Some people have a very niche mother tongue. Then the question can arise. Now, theoretically, even if your mother tongue is Hindi, there can be a question on Hindi being the national language. The whatever controversy runs behind and the three language formula. Now those questions can come, but those questions are not P1 for me. Those questions are not priority one for me. Anything can get asked. And that is the first and probably the last point I want to drive home, that you got to let go of the locus of certainty, which will be affirmed when we look at the previous year questions, aka transcripts. Therefore, at the end of the day, what are they going to exactly ask? Nobody can preempt. Future is uncertain. But the preparation has to happen in a certain way. So, in the end, you do not know what exactly the questions are going to be, but you have to prioritize your preparation. It might happen that you have your interview in 20 days. Then I will not expect you to prepare even Hindi, the implications of Hindi being your mother tongue, and what are the implications of Hindi at last. Maybe you might end up preparing it if you have 40 days. Priority, the mother tongue becomes a priority if it is something which is different to people at large, right? Similarly, here I have spoken about, what do you call, keyword centricism, any trigger word that can catch their fancy. Similarly, again, this is P2, this is P2, P3. Asking a question about the role of women in care centricism, it is not very important, because by and large, this is how it's going to look for most of the people. Now, if you have 40, 45 days, 50 days to prepare after your P0s and P1s, you can then prepare for P2 and P3. You know, um, then again, this can be a question of your generic, what do you call, generic kind of understanding. What is the pay grade, pay scale? Because if your parents are working in government, probably the pay grade and pay scales are known by everyone, are known by everyone. So then knowing the pay grade of the post, especially that your parents hold, if they are teachers, if they are at a different post, always comes in handy. Again, stage to which uh, your parents belong to, this has some role in deciding which current affairs will you need to focus more on. So this becomes one target area for your current affairs preparation in general, you know, first. Number two, about your basic census data. About your basic census data. Again, out of the blue, they can ask the census data from any state, but it is not physically possible to remember everything. Knowing about the census data, about the population density, which is the biggest district, which is the most populous district, what are the, what do you call, economic factors at play? Is it more agri-centric, your specific district? Is it more manufacturing centric? Whatever. Those things, this state and your district becomes a keyword from that angle. Then also from the social angle, what are the social matrices like? What is the gender ratio? What are the, what is the literacy rate there? So on and so forth. Nothing extraordinary. Again, mostly these are going to be the same for everyone. So it doesn't require very specialized studying. Nothing extraordinary. Again, it is again P4 or P3 for me. That what are the different boards about? Some people are from ICSC, some people are from state boards. Can be prepared, but not very important. P3, P4. Then maybe again, a lot of people, what they do, I see them wasting time when they're attending classes for, let's say, engineering centric subjects, even though they graduated 4 or 5 years ago. Now time is very limited, guys. And I'll have to be brutally honest here when I say that most of the people, they don't even study during engineering. How can then they be expected to study the same, revise the same that they never studied for 4 years in then 20 days time? It's a disaster waiting to happen. What you have to do is, if you've graduated very recently within 2 years, or let's say 2.5 years, then maybe final 2 years ka basic saman that are very often asked. Let's say if this gentleman was from electrical engineering, knowing about motor, knowing about transformers, those very basic DC versus AC, you know, three phase versus two phase, whatever those basic things people read in electrical engineering, you can read. If it has been 4 or 5 years since you have graduated, इसका बहुत ज़्यादा local standard रहता नहीं है. Number one. Number two, if you have done masters after bachelor's, then this becomes more important to me. If you have worked, if you have work ex after your graduation, then this becomes the most important thing for me. That is why I say everyone's profile is unique. You need to understand what is your final, what do you call, connection with the academia, or from an area which was not UPSC per se. If it was a job, I will expect you to prepare more on your job. Your job is P0, then your graduation is P2. If you are straight out of college, then maybe your graduation could be P1, priority one. Okay? That is the entire idea. Then what? Higher educational qualification depends. If you've done it, then again, post graduation takes precedence over your bachelor's because this is the last degree you've done. Same again, keyword centricism. This is now section 21, but people still call it section 7 because this is what I found in a sample data. This section is what people are really obsessed with, but I have a difference of opinion. You don't have to make this a very strong academic exercise. You have to understand at the end of the day, it is going to be a conversation. Okay? It's a conversation, and a conversation mostly is very organic. Very seldom is the conversation very automatized. They have prepared question 1, question 2, question 3, question 4, question 5, question 6. Since I've gone to the interviews, I know what they do. Most of the times, the first time they see your DAF is maybe, so when my interview was about to end, I think in UPSC, my board was Preeti Sudan Man's board. Right before my interview was about to end, she had picked up another DAF and she had started to look. And then maybe, 4 people had already asked me questions. Those people also started looking at the DAF. And then, I had come out, probably they scored me whatever they scored. And then the next person was called, which means that they usually have a turnaround time to, ask questions and prepare questions of around, 10, 12 minutes. So they are not at all, they are not doing their homework in the sense that they have the DAF copies at their home and then at night they are making notes. Doesn't happen like that. Why coaching mocks are really daunting and intimidating is number one, they need shots. They need shots from those videos. The more they can intimidate you, the more likes and shares people will get कि यार मजा आ गया, इसको बिल्कुल ही खत्म कर दिया इस बंदे ने, सिखा दिया इसको कुछ. It is all a public show. It is a public show. It is not an actual interview. Number one. Number two, they actually have people who create weird random questions to put you under pressure. In UPSC, 9 out of 10 times nobody puts pressure on you. It's an organic conversation. Now, what happens when you look at it as an academic pursuit and you're not able to answer 2 questions, you start coming under pressure and then you come out of the interview hall and you say, yaar, pressure interview le liya. It is a conversation. And at the point in time, you internalize this idea, it's a conversation, बातचीत हो रही है, कोई मुझे grill नहीं कर रहा है, मैंने कोई murder नहीं किया है, मुझे interrogate नहीं किया जा रहा है. Most of your life will become very simple. ठीक है? Now, what do I mean when I say that? Do not have a very academic angle to it, which means that if this person says, I play volleyball. Now, this person doesn't write, I watch volleyball. He doesn't write, I watch volleyball. He says, I play volleyball. So this person can maybe reminisce his experience about volleyball and have just very basic idea about volleyball. If you play volleyball, you should know the rules. If you play volleyball, and of course you are a basic aware citizen, you're going to be representing a district, you're going to be taking care of the district. If you become a foreign service officer, if you become a diplomat, you're going to be representing India. You'd be expected to know कि इंडिया की क्या रैंक है, कौन सी फेडरेशन है. सिर्फ ये 3-4 एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव एंगल तैयार करने हैं. अब वॉलीबॉल की हिस्ट्री में नहीं घुस जाना, और वॉलीबॉल के पिछले 6 टूर्नामेंट कौन से हुए थे उनकी डिटेल जाननी बहुत जरूरी नहीं है. इट इज P3 P4 फॉर मी, क्योंकि once you start with an academic pursuit, there is no end to it. I say this over and over again, even for prelims, for mains, I have this dictum that I keep telling students. Knowledge is unlimited, time is limited, memory is fickle. Knowledge तो अथाह अनंत है किसी भी चीज के बारे में. And there are 5 gentlemen, sitting and ladies sitting in front of you in that interview panel. They know probably more about life and these topics than you possibly can. Number one. Number two, time is limited. Uske baad, I say this over and over again. Mostly the preparation, this grind, whatever this 3-step grind I'm asking you to follow. The DAF, your PYQs, which are your transcripts, and your newspaper, you have to prepare in 20-25 days. Newspaper will keep on going, but mostly the basic has to be done in 20-25 days, which means that even if your interview is 3 months later, if you are investing more than this time in interview, you are putting yourselves in a compromised position because the result is uncertain. ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए कि इंटरव्यू की कॉल आने के बाद हम फाइनल लिस्ट में 4 नंबर से मिस कर गए, अगले साल प्रीलिम्स फेल कर गए. This should not happen. Preparation has to stay continuous if you were to prepare for the next attempt. ये पता होना चाहिए. That is why time is limited. You have to apportion time in the best way possible. And finally, memory is fickle. Even if you have all the notes in the world, Wikipedia पे सारा ज्ञान पड़ा है, चैट जीपीटी अपनी हेल्यूसिनेशन से तुम्हें गलत सलत बहुत चीजें बता देगा, बट याद तो खुद करके आनी है, वहां बोलना तो खुद है अपने मन से. So the more organic and authentic you're going to keep it, the easier it is for you to emulate. The real thing that not a lot of people talk about is the real application, what you have to do. The real application is after this basic preparation that I'm talking about, you have to prepare talking on these ideas, because talking is a different art. Knowing is different, writing is different, prelims is different, interviews all about talking and understanding. Talking doesn't mean you need to be fluent in a language. Fluency is one such part. As long as you are able to express your idea, even though words can be broken, vocabulary can be subpar, that is acceptable to me. Because again, people who are in these services will tell you when you go in the district, most of the English to barely who uses. If you are in Hindi belt, wahan, and even when you are in regional belts, wahan ki regional language chalti hai, jiske liye tumhe train kiya jayega after you get in these services. Because a lot of people have this insecurity ki my English is poor, my English is bad, main kaise bolu. English is not communication skill. Communication skill is you are able to understand what is asked of you. You are able to stay calm, and then you are able to arrange your ideas in an orderly fashion. English can be good, English can be better. Uske alag-alag stands ho sakte hain. It can not drastically change over 4 weeks. Uske बारे में भी हम separately बात करेंगे, but that's an agenda for another day. अभी की फिर से क्या बात है? Let's come back to the idea. Not too heavily academically inclined. You have to be very organic, very authentic, and then you have to prepare in what you call phases. The first phase is prepare the things which are the most important. Scored 99 percentile in JEE Advanced exam. ठीक है, इसमें कुछ बहुत ज्यादा सवाल नहीं बनता है, रैंक पूछ लेंगे, लेकिन ठीक है ये सिर्फ फ्लेक्स है. एट मैक्स इट्स अ फ्लेक्स. इस पे बहुत कुछ पूछने का स्कोप बनता नहीं है. अगेन सवाल पूछा जा सकता है, दिस एग्जाम बिकेम JEE Advanced and mains in 2013, what happened? But that is not to be prepared in phase 1. That is probably phase 3 for me. Then gold medal in shot put inter-year championship in 2017. Very good. So then they can ask you in specificity ki what was your range? What was the number that you hit in shot put? कितनी दूर फेंका? अगर किसी ने फर्जी लिख दिया है, then he will not be able to tell you the exact number. Then a follow up can be asked कि last क्या shot put Olympics में खेला जाता है? अगर Olympics में खेला जाता है तो last Olympic में कितना फेंका गया था? So what was the score vis-a-vis that score? India में highest score कितना है? All those things can be asked. So this can be prepared in phase 1. Merit का mean scholarship during graduation, which shows academic inclination. They can just very casually ask कि what was the basis, how many people got it. It is called due diligence. ये आंसर तुम्हें गूगल पे नहीं मिलेंगे. You just have to show due diligence. कि अगर तुम कह रहे हो कि यार परसों रात को मैं घर पे था और मैं टीवी देख रहा था, तो मैं पूछूंगा कि भाई 9 बजे टीवी पे क्या आ रहा था, सोनी टीवी पे क्या देख रहा था. अगर वहां व्यक्ति घबरा गया, then I know something is fishy. So due diligence becomes very very important. ये due diligence कर लेनी है. And you have filled this DAF voluntarily, so I will expect due diligence is sine qua non, non-negotiable. I can excuse lack of knowledge, but lack of sincerity is never excused. झूठ excuse कभी नहीं होता. Then awarded best volleyball player of IIT Ropar for years 2016 and 2017. Volleyball is a team game. How do you quantify the best volleyball player? Did you hit the most number of shots, most number of smashes? What was the parameter of quantification? Again, a very simple question for due diligence. चेक करने के लिए कि यार ये सच बोल रहे हैं, इसने लिख दिया है. ये सिर्फ बैकअप प्लेयर था, पानी पिलाता था सबको, लेकिन लिखने में लिख दिया इसने बेस्ट वॉलीबॉल प्लेयर हूं मैं. जस्ट बेसिक ड्यू डिलिजेंस. पोजीशन ऑफ लीडरशिप, hospitality team head, of this cultural fest. So what does, what is entailed in a cultural fest? What happens in a cultural fest? Cultural fest, it's a very broad term. So dance would happen. What would happen? General Secretary for Sports, Chief Organizer of Sports Fest, whatever. So all these ideas, they can ask you administrative questions. What were the challenges you faced? How would you get the funding? Was there any support from the college? Did your academics get compromised because of organization? Whatever. These basic questions can always be asked. वॉचिंग डॉक्यूमेंट्रीज ऑन बिग कैट्स। तो अब इस व्यक्ति ने क्या किया है, इस व्यक्ति ने बिल्कुल स्पेसिफाई कर दिया है, आई वॉच डॉक्यूमेंट्रीज ऑन बिग कैट्स। इफ दिस पर्सन हैड रिटन वॉच डॉक्यूमेंट्रीज, आई कैन आस्क यू एनीथिंग. I get this question asked couple of times, from some of you. Specifically for those of you who are writing this, some of you have also written this. Interest in affairs of national and global importance. तो कुछ लोगों ने पूछा कि यार just like one, can we make it more specific? तो मैंने ये पूछा कि यार what is your actual interest? You cannot always work from a locus of fear कि मैंने ये लिख दिया तो उन्होंने ये पूछ लिया, ये लिख दिया तो ये पूछ लिया. All these ideas, all these questions come in if what you're writing is a lie, if it's a farce. If it is the truth, then you should not be worried. So if you have overall understanding of global affairs, international affairs, you're interested in that, I will prefer that you write in a more generic way so that you can be asked anything because you're comfortable with that. If you are comfortable with a very specific region कि भाई मुझे neighborhood policy में मजा आता है, specifically with India-Pakistan issues, then you make it specific. Specific doesn't always mean better. आज के टाइम पे देयर इज अ फैड, देयर इज अ फैशन वेयर देयर इज एन आइडिया कि स्पेसिफिक मींस बेटर. जैसे फॉर मी पर्सनली, इफ आई वर टू राइट नंबर वन, मैं बहुत सारी डॉक्यूमेंट्रीज देखता हूँ. मुझे हिस्ट्री पे डॉक्यूमेंट्रीज बहुत ज्यादा पसंद है, मैं कॉस्मोस पे देखता हूँ, मैं अगेन नैट जियो वगैरह भी देखता हूँ. तो इफ आई वर राइटिंग पॉइंट नंबर वन, आई विल नॉट राइट बिग कैट्स क्योंकि मैं सब देखता हूँ. व्हाई डू आई मेक इट स्पेसिफिक? आई एम कंफर्टेबल टॉकिंग अबाउट डॉक्यूमेंट्रीज एट लार्ज. This person has not specifically written about watching documentaries on big cats. ड्यू डिलीजेंस का बेसिक सवाल हो सकता है कि ये भाई कहाँ देखते हो, कौन सा एपिसोड देखते हो, क्या कौन उसको इज देयर डेविड एटनबरो हु इज होस्टिंग इट, वेयर यू वाचिंग इट. बिग कैट्स, हाउ आर बिग कैट्स क्वालिफाइड? मतलब सिंस देयर इज समथिंग कॉल्ड बिग कैट्स, क्या कुछ स्मॉल कैट जैसा भी होता है? ये नाम कैसा है बिग कैट्स? बिग कैट की फैमिली में कौन कौन होता है? पैंथेरा क्या स्पीशीज है? व्हाटएवर दोस 3-4 थिंग्स दे कैन आस्क बिकॉज़ you have very specifically mentioned these things. So those things can be prepared कि भाई big cats कैसे क्लासिफाई की जा सकती है, हाउ आर बिग कैट डिफरेंट फ्रॉम स्मॉल कैट्स और कैट्स एट लार्ज, कौन कौन मेंबर्स हैं इनकी फैमिली के, व्हाई डज दिस रियली इंटरेस्ट यू ऑल्सो, दिस इज ड्यू डिलिजेंस, व्हाई स्पेसिफिकली बिग कैट्स, व्हाट इज इट स्पेशल अबाउट इट दैट इंटरेस्ट्स यू? इसका आंसर मैं नहीं दे सकता हूँ, इसका आंसर गूगल नहीं दे सकता है. इसका इंटरेस्ट, इसका आंसर अपने मन के इंटरेस्ट से आएगा. यू वॉच इट, you should know why you're watching it, there must be some compelling reason. That is how you need to prepare it. Don't over intellectualize, number one, and prepare it in phases. Phases में तैयारी करने से क्या फायदा होता है कि अगर तुम्हारा इंटरव्यू 10-12 दिन के अंदर भी है तो जिटरी नहीं होगे. You would have done the basics across the spectrum. ठीक है? Then what? Usually they don't ask this. Usually 9 out of 10 times कोचिंग वाले इसके अंदर ही घुस रहेंगे क्योंकि उनको कोई काम नहीं है, उनको बिना बात के क्वेश्चंस बनाने हैं. बट मोस्टली सेल्डम डू दे आस्क जब तक कोई बहुत ही अटपटी चॉइस ना हो या यहाँ पे 0-0-0-0 ना मार्क किया हो. यूजुअली, और अगर if there is an atpati choice, let's say if you are putting, usually everyone puts UPS first, and maybe you are from Delhi, you have nothing to do with Odisha, but you put Odisha as number one. Now this is थोड़ी सी अटपटी choice. कुछ भी नहीं करना. I will ask you why is that? कुछ तो रीजन रहा होगा ना इस बात का कि सर I have heard that it's a very well-oiled bureaucratic machine. The challenges are very good. I'm very interested in solving a lot of different problems. Socio-economic, disaster management also has to be done. Anything, वो तुम्हारे दिल से आंसर आएगा. तो अगर अटपटी चॉइस भी है कहीं ना कहीं, you should be able to back it, and you will be able to back it. बस डरना नहीं है, बहुत झूठ नहीं बोलना. अंडरस्टैंड कि there is a fine line. अब ऐसा है कि you also should not be brutally honest. Why IAS? मुझे IAS इसलिए बनना है ताकि मैं अपने रिश्तेदारों को दिखा पाऊं कि मैं कितना होशियार हूं. मे बी इट इज योर पैशन, बट यू कैनॉट से इट आउट लाउड. ब्रूटली ऑनेस्ट नहीं होना, लेकिन ऐसा भी झूठ नहीं बोलना कि मुझे समाज सेवा का बहुत शौक था तो मैं बोलूं भाई अब समाज सेवा का शौक था भाई 27 साल तक, व्हाट वर यू डूइंग? सर कुछ नहीं, घर बैठा हुआ था मैं, लेकिन समाज सेवा का बहुत शौक है. तो झूठ इतना भी बड़ा नहीं होना चाहिए. यू शुड नॉट बी इनसिंसियर. यू शुड ट्रेड दैट idealism की line because that is a reality. If you're coming into civil services only for one-upmanship with your rishtedars and for doing something, you will really suffer. Unless and until you have that public service का cause होना बड़ा जरूरी है. But public service के cause के साथ कोई एक personal ambition होने में भी बुराई नहीं है, उसको subtly लिख दो. Let's say your parents are in the public services already. So sir, my parents used to tell me about the opportunities civil servants get, and I was really, that is a legitimate way to say, not as a primary thing. बट विद द पैशन फॉर पब्लिक सर्विसेज के साथ प्लस नंबर 2 पे वो बिल्कुल आ सकता है, एंड इट ब्रिंग्स ऑथेंटिसिटी. इट शोज मी कि ये कोचिंग इंस्टीट्यूट से रट के नहीं आ गया आंसर, और ये मेरी आंखों में उंगली नहीं मारा है. नाउ ऑफ कोर्स सोशल एंगल सिर्फ वहां तभी चल सकता है जब मुझे तेरे when I see it in your DAF, and in your DAF I'm able to see, yeah, this person was very inclined, and this person was associated with this NGO, with this state government, you have done A B C D E, then justify, you're able to justify. डैफ का पूरा गेम बड़ा सिंपल सा है. मैं इसके बारे में हर साल यही सेम बात बताता हूँ. क्या गेम है डैफ में? देयर आर नो रॉन्ग्स, देयर आर नो राइट्स. डैफ, द मोमेंट आई सी दिस डैफ, आई गेट एन इमेज. इफ आई स्पीक अबाउट दिस डैफ, अगर मैं डैफ देखें तो मुझे एक व्यक्ति दिखता है हु इज एकेडमिकली वेरी स्मार्ट, and who is physically also very what you call active, who is very smart intellectually, and who's physically very robust, very smart, क्योंकि वो physically active है बहुत सारा. ये इमेज बनी है. अब when this person walks inside the room and this person is clueless about some of the things that they have mentioned, मुझे बिग कैट्स के बारे में पता ही नहीं है, क्या बिग कैट्स होती है मुझे पता ही नहीं है, मैंने कहाँ देखी थी. दे स्पीक अबाउट फिटनेस, बट फिजिकली व्हेन आई लुक एट देम दे डोंट लुक वेरी fit as they as the image they have sold to me. Then there is a mismatch. फिर मेरा एक एक डाउट आता है कि जो उसने लिखा है ये सच भी है, ये झूठ लिख दिया इसने. It is so there are no wrongs and no rights in the DAF. It is all about matching the image you have sold me. I have not written that DAF for you. UPSC has not made a template for you. UPSC ने बिल्कुल खाली DAF दे दिया है. You have filled it voluntarily. Now, howsoever you have filled it, maybe with the help of coaching, with the help of some bhaiya, whether the help of some didi, I don't care. Now you have to match the image. The fundamental idea is to match the image that you have sold to me. अगर ये idea internalize हो गया, most of the job is done then and there. Similarly, again, IPS cadre की ये. And again, सर्विस प्रेफरेंस पे भी 99% बहुत क्वेश्चंस कभी नहीं होते. कोचिंग वाले पूछेंगे, यूपीएससी में नहीं पूछेंगे. सिर्फ 2-3 एक्सेप्शंस है. एंड अगेन यू हैव टू बी वेरी ऑथेंटिक. एक एक्सेप्शन जो देखी गई है वो ये है कि यू राइट in your DAF, I'm very interested in IR, I've participated in MUNs, I've interested in global relations, whatever, and then you put IFS at number 6. तो मैं पूछूंगा यार, why is that? If you're so interested in IR, why not IFS at top? तो उसका एक रीजन भी होगा in your heart. Maybe most of the time the reason is my family doesn't want to move outside. That's a legitimate response. Do not be worried. इस पे झूठ, अब इस पे झूठ तुम क्या बनाओगे मुझे बताओ. क्यों झूठ बनाना? You have to be authentic. We live in a country, we cannot move away from our culture very strongly. We live in a country where we are family centric. We are family centric. You cannot take that away from us. Parents take care of their kids even till the age of 27, 28, 29, 30. That's the reality of our society. That is how our society is built. And kids, they take care of their parents after 60, 65, 70, whenever there's a need. तुम ये नहीं कह सकते कि भाई we तो are very enlightened and this is bad and we are very career centric. If you're authentic, it always wins you the race. So that authentic response is acceptable. उसके बाद कई बारी क्या होगा कि you are putting some service at top. For instance, very rarely, I've only seen it happen once, 2017 में. I think this lady officer filled IRS at top and she got it at the rank of 65 or 70, something like that. So then it really catches my fancy. Yeah, why IRS at top? That's a legitimate question to ask. Some people fill IPS at top. That's a legitimate question to ask. So वो जो अटपटी choices are similar to cadre choices, there must be a reason that you filled something certain way, no? Then do it. Mostly it is expected कि ग्रुप ए की सर्विसेज ऊपर हो, ग्रुप बी की सर्विसेज नीचे हो. कई लोग, मैं तो I strongly personally call it misguidance. Some people when they are misguided, they fill Danik at number 7, number 8. तो वहां क्वेश्चन आएगा और फंसेगा कि यार क्यों Danik भर दिया 7, 8 पे? इट्स अ ग्रुप बी सर्विस, व्हाई अबव सर्विस? तो तैयार करके जाना. अगर ऐसी गलती कर दी है, आई विल स्टिल कॉल इट अ मिस्टेक. इफ यू मेड दैट मिस्टेक, एटलीस्ट जस्टिफाई दैट मिस्टेक नाउ. दैट इज ऑल यू नीड टू प्रिपेयर. बाकी एवरीवन इज इन द एंड. दैट्स क्या लिखा हुआ है यहाँ पे? इट्स अ सर्विस प्रेफरेंस. योर ऑर्डर ऑफ प्रेफरेंस, यहाँ इंग्लिश में लिखा हुआ है प्रेफरेंस. इट्स अ पर्सनल प्रेफरेंस, योर ऑर्डर ऑफ प्रेफरेंस. There is no wrong or right service preference. It is your preference. So as long as you can justify it with legitimate reason, you are good to go. तो घबराना नहीं है. ठीक है. दैट इज द एक्सटेंट ऑफ डैफ, बाकी तो कुछ भी नहीं है इसके अंदर. दैट वाज द फर्स्ट थिंग कि डैफ कैसे तैयार करना है. तो ये एक्सरसाइज 15-20 दिन के अंदर फिनिश कर दो. नंबर 2, yeah, do not reinvent the wheel. I say this over and over again. The real idea is to be able to express, not make notes. Notes बनाने से कुछ नहीं होता है. अगर तुम उसके बाद if you're not able to express yourselves well interview के अंदर, so try to outsource as much work as is possible. आउटसोर्स करने का मतलब है यू आर गोइंग टू बी अपीयरिंग. अब कौन सा साल हो गया, 25 का इंटरव्यू हो गया, 25 का इंटरव्यू, सालों साल से इंटरव्यू हो रहे हैं. यू आर नॉट द फर्स्ट फॉर गिविंग एन इंटरव्यू. सो देयर इज अ वेरी हाई लाइकलीहुड कि लास्ट के साल के लोगों के भी कुछ कीवर्ड तुमसे मैच कर रहे होंगे, सेम कॉलेज के, सेम कोर्स के, सेम सिटी के, वट एवर मे बी you will find someone with an atpati preference like your atpati preference. Before trying to make all the notes by yourselves, try to see अगर किसी ने notes पहले ही बना रखे हैं बेसिक की नहीं, which are similar to some trigger keywords as you. और क्या करो, वहां से सामान उठा लो और उसको तैयार करो. It is more about preparing than making notes. Making notes is a precursor. It is not a necessity. It is not a necessity. So if you can outsource some of that work by finding someone else's notes, please do it by all accounts and make them your own by practicing. That was the entire idea about DAF. ठीक है. वेरी क्विकली एक बारी न्यूज़पेपर देख लेते हैं. ठीक है, तो न्यूज़पेपर के बारे में मैंने दो बात बताई. देयर आर टू डिफरेंट वेज. द फर्स्ट वे इज टू रीड न्यूज़पेपर इन जनरल. ठीक है, and the second way is to read newspaper 15 days prior to your interview. Now, why am I very fixated on these 15 days? Understand that nobody is preparing those questions for you in advance. Nobody is preparing those questions for you in advance. वो questions वहीं पे तैयार हो रहे हैं. Those people are also, who are very experienced. They are reading newspaper in their daily life. Newspaper देखते हैं, न्यूज देखते हैं, वहां से सवाल वो कुछ बना देते हैं. अब आदमी की मेमोरी बड़ी लिमिटेड है, तो जो बहुत स्पेसिफिक न्यूज होती है, वेरी 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 स्पेसिफिक टिडबिट्स जो होते हैं, वो 10-15 दिन तक ही याद रहते हैं किसी को भी. उसके बियॉन्ड एक स्पिरिट याद रहती है. नाउ आई विल आल्सो क्वांटिफाई दिस फॉर यू कि क्या फर्क है वेरी 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 स्पेसिफिक आइटम्स एंड द स्पिरिट. उसका फर्क है लेट्स से इसके अंदर. ठीक है, तेजस ट्रेजेडी. तो अगर किसी का इंटरव्यू 15 दिन के अंदर है, तो आई विल एक्सपेक्ट यू टू नो ऑल द डिटेल्स. डिटेल्स का क्या मतलब हो गया है? डिटेल्स का मतलब हो गया है कि कहाँ हुआ ये, वेयर वाज द शो हेल्ड, व्हाट वाज द एरिया, दिस वाज अल मक्तूम इंटरनेशनल एयरपोर्ट. नाउ नॉलेज ऑफ दिस एयरपोर्ट इज ओनली हैंडी अगर इंटरव्यू 15 दिन के अंदर है. अगर इंटरव्यू 15 दिन के अंदर नहीं है, तो फिर नॉलेज इज अनलिमिटेड. यू कैन नॉट रिमेंबर. इवन दोस पीपल ऑल्सो मोस्टली विल नॉट रिमेंबर. इस पे सवाल बनना बड़ा मुश्किल है, बड़ा मुश्किल है. उसके बाद एक ओवरऑल क्वेश्चन पूछा जा सकता है कि ऐसा क्यों हुआ, व्हाई इट हैपेंड. तेजस के बारे में इन जनरल, इंडिया के इंडिजिनस क्या क्या एयर जेट्स है, इंडिया ने कौन कौन से बाहर मंगवाए हैं, ये कौन सी जनरेशन है, क्या इंडिया कोई जेन 5 भी बना रही है, राफेल वगैरह जो है 4.5 है. बट एवर दीज क्वेश्चंस विल स्टिल रिमेन रेलेवेंट बिकॉज दिस इज द स्पिरिट. एग्जैक्ट वेरी 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 स्पेसिफिक डिटेल इज दिस, जो 15 दिन के बाद मिलने रेलेवेंट है. दैट इज द डिफरेंस in reading the newspaper 15 days prior to your interview, or reading it now for your interview which might happen in a month or two. Center notifies 4 new labor codes. तो अगर कुछ 4 लेबर कोड अब है, तो पहले भी तो कुछ होगा, तो पहले 29 थे. अगेन दिस विल रिमेन रेलेवेंट. वी हैव आल्सो रेड दिस इन द मेंस. तो हर चीज को देख के घबरा नहीं जाना. योर एटीट्यूड के साथ साथ एटीट्यूड इज आल्सो वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. यू हैव रेड मोस्ट ऑफ दिस. आई प्रॉमिस यू, यू हैव रेड मोस्ट ऑफ दिस इन योर प्रिपरेशन. कितना बेसिक चीजें हम पढ़ते थे लेबर कोड. ठीक है, उसके बाद राजस्थान न्यू एंटी कन्वर्जन लॉ फर्स्ट केस फाइल. सो नाउ इफ यू आर फ्रॉम राजस्थान, मे बी फॉर यू दिस आइटम बिकम्स थोड़ा सा इंपॉर्टेंट. इफ यू आर नॉट फ्रॉम राजस्थान, ये प्रायोरिटी 1 या प्रायोरिटी 2 नहीं है. अगेन, जिसे मैं कहता हूं ऊंट किस करवट बैठेगा इंटरव्यू के दौरान, नोबडी नोज. बट आई विल वॉन्ट टू ऑप्टिमाइज माई चांस, एंड इफ आई हैव नथिंग टू डू विद राजस्थान, मैं इसके बारे में कुछ नहीं पढ़ूंगा, क्योंकि मेरा बैकग्राउंड राजस्थान का नहीं है. अगर मेरा बैकग्राउंड राजस्थान का, तो मैं इसके ऊपर नजर मार दूंगा. दैट इज व्हाई से एवरीवन्स प्रिपरेशन इज यूनिक इन सम वे और द अदर. SIR के बारे में बहुत सारी बात चल रही है, तो व्हाट, तो अगेन ये रेलेवेंट है. दिस इज गोइंग टू रिमेन रेलेवेंट थ्रू आउट दिस इंटरव्यू साइकिल. व्हाट इज द SIR एक्सरसाइज अबाउट? व्हाट is it entailing? Because administration is doing it. There was also a news that one BLO unfortunately committed suicide in Rajasthan because he said that there was a lot of pressure on him. तो ये सारे ideas मोटे मोटे थोड़े थोड़े पता होने चाहिए. But this spirit is very, 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 very important. Throughout, it is going to be very, very important. Throughout the interviews. Last तक ये relevant रहेगा. कि अब ये ठीक है, ये political news है, तो political news, again, unless you are from Bihar, I will not pay relevance. This is not relevant to me. If you're from Bihar, then yes. Some political ideas also are okay. कि क्या हुआ? Why did the new party not win? So there was a wave of anti-incumbency. It is said that usually there is always anti-incumbency. What happened? That anti-incumbency was not as strong, and the incumbents came back again. What are the social reasons? What are the economic? Is there a social angle to it? Is there an economic angle to it? Whatever it is. Or if specifically you're from Bihar, no restful timelines fixed for governors to clear BL. Again, that's the question we read in mains. Mains में हम पढ़ते हैं, तो again, I'm not going to pay a lot of heed to it. Idea क्या है कि governors के पास fixed timeline होनी चाहिए कि नहीं होनी चाहिए. It's a virtual pocket veto. They can hold it indefinitely. They can say कि हमको president का help चाहिए, ये चाहिए. Is it constitutional? क्या इंडिया के कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में क्या हमको कोई चेंज लेके आना चाहिए? क्या ये is it not inhibition of are they not inhibiting federal supremacy? Whatever it is. Okay? Spirit is important. Spirit is important. DMRC finds violating pollution norms. So again, pollution, if you are from Delhi, pollution अब आज के टाइम पे static topic है. It is not a dynamic topic. Overhaul of security, again, ये तो बड़ा important issue था. Red Fort blast. So again, the exact details कि किस area में हुआ, क्या हुआ, only important 15 days के अगर अंदर interview है तो. If not, then you need to know the overarching idea. Terrorism, why it happened, कहाँ से आए होंगे, क्या तुम्हारे मन से नहीं. It is not about, they are not asking you a conspiracy theory. ये तुम्हें क्या लगता है कहाँ से आए. Only speak about what the investigation agencies are claiming. We have to focus on that. WhatsApp के forward से नहीं. Puts rumors to rest, rules out leadership change. Again, a political news, not relevant. Why not move SC for SIT probe into Delhi riots? JNU students approved facial recognition from library. ये बड़ी छोटे items है, बहुत important नहीं है. ठीक है. What else? The Rajasthan books to pastors again. So if you are from Rajasthan, थोड़ा बहुत context on this can help. Sanskrit, a dead language, stirs row again. अगर ये 15 दिन पहले हो रहा है, 10 दिन पहले हो रहा है, before your interview, then can be discussed. उस तब तक ये बहुत ज्यादा relevant रहेगा नहीं. If it is going to be relevant, then it is still come again 15 days prior to your exam. Peace Accord implementation board outward stays stir in Delhi. Again, it's a part of your static. What are the peace? I think a question also got asked in mains couple of years ago. Ki kaun si, what were those peace, what do you call, accords that India signed or the states signed with different outfits. Habeas corpus petition file ki thi. Son died by suicide. BJP LAs, police corruption, poll lines. Again, not very, very relevant news. क्योंकि ये probably state के अंदर से आ रही है. That's the editorial. Rethinking a symbol of environmental responsibility and vegetated coastal habitats such as mangroves. So again, these are general. कोई बहुत specific बात नहीं की है about mangroves. We always read green cover. Again, these are general ideas. तो मुझे बहुत detail में unnecessarily पढ़ना नहीं है. I will expect कि already पता होगा. You should already know about the norms. You should already know about what is the green cover in India. You should already know the utility of mangroves in general. Should have upheld timelines for governor. Again, we have seen it. Yes, फिर से static means का topic है. National action plan on AMR. I think ये antibiotic resistance के बारे में होगा. हाँ, antimicrobial resistance के बारे में है. तो again इसके बारे में overarching idea. Again, no dive deep is very necessary unless 15 days prior to your interview. The new direction for India should be toward Asia. Asia again, Asia-centric diplomacy. हमको internal diplomacy करनी है. Again, general, not very, very specific. इसकी spirit भी समझने की जरूरत नहीं है. You know it already. Okay. What else? Unify security regulations for two plans. Again, 15 days prior. So then you can prepare more on it. This we have seen already. Again, we have seen US sanctions firms, Indians involved in Iran's oil trade. Honorable Prime Minister meets Australian PM, discusses again 15 days prior to your interview. You should know what is the idea behind this. what does Australia have to offer to us specifically by uranium, dairy, like in India is not very happy with that. What is the idea? What is the current state? All those things you can read. ठीक है? Again, SIR के बारे में हमने बात कर ही ली है पहले ही. For awarding peace prize to Bachelet. Again, can be read 15 days की क्या इसकी क्या utility है? What is the utility of this? ठीक है? COP30 draft text gives mention of very, very important. This is important. This is important. What is the idea around COP30? BJP pushing tribals again, political news as less as possible. PAC questions FSI on sale of adulterated food items. Again, this can be important. This has an administrative angle. But अभी तक हमको we have found very less news items जिनकी spirit हमें समझनी है. You know, which is why, you know, when I hear you telling me कि मुझे newspaper पढ़ने में time लग रहा है, I am led to believe that you're not able to identify क्या पढ़ना है क्या नहीं पढ़ना है. That is why I am spending a lot of time on this one exercise properly. Guidelines defining obscenity in online content proposed. Again, proposal है, तो अगर 15 days prior है तो उसको ठीक से पढ़ लेंगे, वरना अभी तो proposal है, a lot of things are going to happen. We'll look at it later. ठीक है? Insinuations of coup absurd. Khambata tells Tata Trust. Again, not important. Rupee goes for free fall. Again, important. Very, very important. You know, in currency depreciation vis-a-vis dollar. Why is that? What are the reasons? वैसे तो basic economics ही है पीछे. But if some specific ideas you get from here, well and good. Okay. So I hope you understand the spirit of what I wanted to convey. Idea ये है कि try to read 2 newspapers, and if your interview is not within 15 days, then you're going to spend around 40 to 45 minutes per newspaper. 1.5 घंटे के अंदर 1.5 hours of investment in newspaper is हो गया. ठीक है? When you're going to move closer, ये 1.5 घंटा लगभग 2.5-3 घंटा हो सकता है. But that is acceptable then, because by then I will expect कि तुम्हारा basic ठीक हो गया होगा. You know, your basic DAF के keywords are prepared. You have already analyzed your transcripts, and now you're going for mock interviews. You are practicing talking. करोगे क्या पूरे दिन? You know, so reading newspaper for 2.5-3 hours then justifies the investment. But अभी इतनी detail में नहीं करना. अभी I have told you what should be the extent of your approach. ठीक है? Which brings me to the final part. These are your PYQs. तो तुम्हें 2 exercise करनी है. एक तो you have to go through all the DAFs. There are 2 things. One, we have to look at the generic pattern. If we can find a generic pattern, what is their approach overall? It will help you become accustomed. It will help you become accustomed to the way they are asking questions. And then you need to find specific transcripts which have keywords matching your entries in DAF, ताकि तुम as it is उन questions को ज्यादा बेहतर तरीके से तैयार कर पाओ. अब उन questions को कैसे तैयार करना है उनको मैं एक लेवल के बाद आके बताऊंगा, बट अभी पहले फर्स्ट और सेकंड पार्ट पे बात कर लेते हैं. सबसे पहले मुझे सारी चीजें पढ़नी है जेनेरिक तरीके से, और मुझे कुछ स्पेसिफिक कीवर्ड भी मैं तैयार कर सकता हूँ. एक गलती नहीं करना. देयर इज अ मिस्टेक सम पीपल एनकरेज, आई डोंट एनकरेज एट ऑल. Do not at all unnecessarily do research on the members of UPSC. Absolutely do not do that research. और बिल्कुल किसी से भी मत पूछना कि यार ये वाले सर कैसे नंबर देते हैं, ये वाली मैडम कैसे नंबर देती है, बिकॉज इस चीज का सिर्फ नुकसान है और कोई भी फायदा नहीं है. I call it celebrity hypothesis. You know, celebrity hypothesis. You can see it, you know, when you see that Virat Kohli, when he roams in the streets of London, nobody cares. Half of the people don't even know him. वहाँ लोग क्रिकेट इतना फेमस नहीं है जितना इंडिया में क्रिकेट है. He is just another Indian guy. You know, nobody cares about him. But विराट कोहली अगर वो यहाँ आ जाए तो everybody will ambush him, और सारे के सारे लोग यार कोहली आ गया, कई लोग रुकने लग जाएंगे, स्टटर करने लग जाएंगे, लोग बेहोश हो जाएंगे. Why? Celebrity hypothesis. You know that this person is celebrity because you know too much about them. They are important to you. So if you research so much about someone, when you enter, you are in that aura कि यार मैंने तो इनको कैमरा पे देखा था, सामने देख लिया ये तो, and then you start getting jittery. That's a reality. There is no upside to it. It is absolutely person agnostic. दूसरी बात, you always have a bias, because I think there used to be a gentleman in UPSC. I think he's no longer there. 5-6 years ago, and he'd have a very typical style. He will open your DAF. You'll sit in front of him, and he's going to greet you. He's going to be he was very charismatic. He's going to invite you in. very nicely, politely. He will look at your DAF, smile, and put your DAF down. Now he will start asking questions on anything but your DAF. And then people will get worried and people will say, he doesn't give more than 160. So it became a legend and enigma of sorts. Yeah, if you get uh, if you get the room he's sitting in, then you're gone because he will not ask questions from DAF and he will score you poorly. But that's a reality. The reality is he did score the highest also. He gave 219 to a lot of people. He gave 208, 206, but we always have an inherent negative bias. The problem is if you have these ideas inside your head prior to going in the interview hall, you have already lost the battle inside your heart. You are as if यार दिन खराब चल रहा है, गलत board मिल गया. There is no wrong board. There is no right board. It is all about optimizing your chance and believing in yourself. And how you do it? By isolating yourself, by shielding yourselves from a lot of unnecessary information. ठीक है? तो बोर्ड बता दिया है और इसने कीवर्ड लिख दिया अपने. Very good, very very nice. They are very very polite. They are very warm. They are very nice. They really want to know you. How are you feeling today? Ask me whether you're happy. अब ये बताओ, ये तैयार कर सकते हो? Can you really prepare? कितना artificially तैयार करोगे यार? Are you going for a theater or what? Is that a theater or what? मैंने सवाल पूछ लिया. You come to meet me. मैंने कहा यार क्या चल रहा है? कैसे हो? तुम बोलो अरे सर नोट्स. ऊपर देखने लग जाओ, याद करो मैंने नोट्स में क्या लिखा था. मैं तो सर 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 खत्म हो गया, मुझे पता लग गया रट्टू होता है. सवाल पूछा है how are you, how are you feeling? Just lean into your emotions. Be honest कि sir I'm feeling slightly nervous because this is the first time coming for the interview, and but I would love to learn a lot from this experience. Is that not the genuine feeling that you have when you go in the interview hall? Why shy away from it? Why have that false bravado? Sir, I'm very confident, sir. So very very confident, sir. What benefit is going to bring? Directly said about what's happening in cricket nowadays. Apart from the game, he was hinting about Rohit Sharma. तो तब चल रहा होगा कोई issue, I don't even remember. Out of cricket, which one you? सारे authentic सवाल है यार. Can you अब मुझे फिर से बताओ? For me, there is no preparation required for these first three questions because if you watch cricket, you would have known about it. अगर मेरे से कोई बोल दे मैंने लिख दिया that I like watching cricket, and people will say कि he will ask me कि यार India lost the first match to South Africa and Timba Babuma took it single-handedly away from us. We collapsed on the fourth inning. मुझे इसकी तैयारी करने की जरूरत नहीं है क्योंकि या तो फिर दिन मेरा इंटरेस्ट नहीं था क्रिकेट में, आई हैव लाइड, और अगेन समथिंग इज रॉन्ग, आई एम वेरी वेरी नर्वस. सो इनकी तैयारी नहीं करनी. अगेन जेन्युइन क्वेश्चन कि तूने दो चीज लिखी हुई है, यू प्ले वॉलीबॉल, यू प्ले क्रिकेट, which one do you like more? You can think about it. It's okay to think always. Doesn't hurt. History of Kabaddi and Mahabharata relation. Again, you are not necessarily expected to know this. इसको देख के घबरा नहीं जाना है कि यार अब मैं क्रिकेट का जो है महाभारत के साथ, रामायण के साथ और पता नहीं क्या कोई रोमन उसके अंदर भी कहानी में लिखा हुआ है वो सब मैं पढ़ने लग जाऊं. You cannot prepare such questions. These are bonus questions. If you know them well and good, you get a brownie. You get a brownie point. Otherwise, that's okay. Few technical specific. देखो अब ये तो पता होना चाहिए ना यार, क्रिकेट में अगर नो बॉल है, नो बॉल पे कैन यू गेट स्टम्प्ड? अगर तुम्हें ये नहीं पता, then again it raises questions on your interest on cricket. I have asked you a question on gray area. If the ball comes and hits your helmet and a fielder catches it, are you out or are you not? This is a rule ka question. If you have interest in the game, I will expect you to know these questions. Okay? If you have to change one rule of cricket, again, very genuine. यार क्या rule हम change कर सकते हैं cricket का? You can think about it. Maybe you can say if the 6 is more than 100 meters, you can give 8 runs. I can change that rule. And there are no right or wrong answers. तुम ICC थोड़ी हो, तुम्हारे कहने से rule थोड़ी change हो रहा है. As long as whatever you say is logical and maybe it is coming from your experience. Maximum run a player can score in an over. So again, you can think about it. There is no, मेरे हिसाब से Jethalal answer of scoring 50 runs. Maximum run, I think a player can score as many runs because again no ball. So again जितनी no ball, there can be a number of no balls in the game. अगर no balls बहुत ज्यादा है तो यार मेरे हिसाब से, in my understanding, I would say there is no theoretical limit to how many runs that can be scored. Because I don't think an over can get disqualified 6 no ball पे. India so it is all about, it's a question on logical reasoning. कि तुम logically सोच पा रहे हो कि नहीं सोच पा रहे हो. Now before going in the examination hall, I cannot prepare all such questions. But understand it's not an interrogation. You can take a minute, 60 seconds, 30 seconds to think and to answer if there's a need to think. India should reconsider not to play cricket in Pakistan again. ये बहुत टाइम से बात चल रही है. तो you can answer. about women in constituent assembly. Was there a keyword? Kabaddi, NCC, ठीक है. So this was a bouncer की कितनी women थी constituent assembly में. But now you know कि ये previous year question है, तो यार इसको तैयार कर लो. क्योंकि ये बेसिक क्वेश्चन बेसिक है. यू कैन नॉट से कि मेरा पॉलिटिकल साइंस नहीं था या हिस्ट्री नहीं था, मुझे क्या पता. थोड़ी शर्मिंदगी की बात है अगर ये बात नहीं पता. इवन दो मोस्ट ऑफ यू वुड हैव नॉट नोन इट. प्रिपेयर सच क्वेश्चंस. दैट्स द पॉइंट ऑफ रीडिंग ट्रांसक्रिप्ट्स. Corruption in judiciary, any law in place to address this? There was an idea. I think someone were to be impeached once. I think some story was happening. New Zealand Parliament performed a haka to, again, very well known news item back in the day. Because I think this was the what do you call indigenous community. Classical language, new ones, schedule 8 related questions, basic question. Bangladesh crisis. Again, I think probably when Sheikh Hasina ji was ousted, who happened, whatever. Recent South Korea crisis. So again, all these questions were fairly recent back in the day. They were very contemporary. NCC में क्या सीखा? Don't you think it should be made compulsory? तो लिखा होगा NCC. Again, simple question on semiconductor, whatever. Most memorable moment of your IIT day. यार, you cannot prepare for these questions. मेरे हिसाब से ये मेरा personal idea है. Some would say कि मैं इसको अब तैयार कर लूंगा. But it will always be very artificial. I will preferably leave some areas where I am very authentically trying to connect with them. Because authenticity always makes you connect with the other person in the best way possible. You'll always feel. You will always have this person in your, what do you call, friend circle. जो कि बड़ा बड़ा सोच के सारी चीजें कर रहा है, उसका कोई भी करीबी दोस्त नहीं है. और एक व्यक्ति है जो कि दिल से बात कर रहा है, और मे बी दैट पर्सन डजंट हैव अ लॉट ऑफ ऑफर यू in terms of value, but you just feel more connected to that person. So I am personally of the opinion कि थोड़ी सी authenticity, थोड़ी सी vulnerability, थोड़ी सी in the moment की organic discussion always helps you build a better connection. ठीक है. AI versus ML इसने लिखा हुआ था, बेसिक सवाल है. LLM again, large language model, वो जो बेसिक सारी कहानी है, you have to see. महाकुंभ I think चल रहा था उस टाइम पे. That is why the question. UP Investor Summit, again, probably this person would have been from UP. I'm expecting Meerut. That is why. तो ये कहानी है सारी की सारी. Probably something else started. We can also look at something else. One more. Give me a second. ठीक है. Chemistry grad, whatever. आप हिंदी में कंफर्टेबल है बात करने में? I said my medium in English. He said कोई बात नहीं, आप ये छोड़ो, बाहर जो हवा बनती है. वेरी गुड. एक सिंपल सी बात हो रही है. दिस पर्सन इज जस्ट ट्राइंग टू स्ट्राइक अ कॉन्वर्सेशन. तो मेरा क्या सिंपल रूल ऑफ थंब है, व्हाटएवर लैंग्वेज यू विल स्पीक विद मी, मैं उसमें जवाब दूंगा. अगर मेरी हिंदी अच्छी है, मेरी अंग्रेजी अच्छी है, और अगर आप मेरे से अंग्रेजी में बात करेंगे तो मैं अंग्रेजी में रिस्पॉन्स दूंगा. अगर आप मेरे से हिंदी में बात करेंगे तो मैं हिंदी में रिस्पॉन्स दूंगा. ये मेरा बेसिक ह्यूरिस्टिक है. यू कैन चूज व्हाट यू वांट टू डू. इवन दो मीडियम, यार ये सब चीजें तो कागजी है ना. कागज में मीडियम इंग्लिश लिख दिया, हिंदी आती है. अगर सामने वाला मेरे से हिंदी में बात करेगा, आई विल नॉट शाई अवे फ्रॉम टॉकिंग इन हिंदी बैक विद देम, क्वाइट ऑनेस्टली. Sitting on this chair is a dream for many. How are you feeling today? I will not expect you to prepare this question, guys. Very, very honestly. Tell me famous personalities from your college. थोड़ी सी ठीक है, अब ये तैयार कर लो. ये याद है तो याद है. Government is investing so much in IITs, but they go abroad. Basic सवाल. कि तुमने IIT की सीट वेस्ट कर दी, या IIT पे इतना पैसा लगता है, but these people are not giving back. Very basic question. कोई सही गलत आंसर नहीं है. You give your opinion that indirectly they are helping you create social capital, whatever. N number of things you can talk about. What is green hydrogen? Again, in news. Innovative ways to tackle transportation logistical issues. Reach scheme. अब इस व्यक्ति को भी नहीं पता था. That is okay if it is a bouncer. You come from Delhi NCR. Pollution की प्रॉब्लम यार मेरे साल से भी पहले से चल रहा है. 16-17 से चल रहा है. You won essay on women empowerment. What was the exact topic? Due diligence. Was that not what I was talking about? उसने एक चीज लिखी, उसके बारे में उसके स्पेसिफिक पे सवाल पूछ लिया. Very simple. Do you have a foreign service as your preference? I think the context was on my Canada answer. He said very good answer. Okay, thank you. Think Canada's strained relation with India again was in news back in the day. Do you think the regime in a country now will come to power affects its relations with India? Very basic question, क्योंकि US में election हो रहा होगा. I think Republicans would have won. और basic सवाल तो most of these questions are contemporary या DAF से आ रहे हैं. And beyond it, then you need to let go of the locus of control. कि मैं तुमसे बात कर रहा हूं, I'm talking with you. मैं तुमसे कुछ भी पूछ सकता हूं. But as long as you're looking at it from a locus of discussion, conversation, you will not get worried. If you're looking at it from a locus of interrogation, then you might get ये वाइवा नहीं हो रहा है, कॉलेज का वाइवा नहीं हो रहा है. कॉलेज का वाइवा नॉलेज के बेसिस पे दिया जाता है. सिमिलरली IFOS का इंटरव्यू इसलिए IAS के इंटरव्यू से डिफरेंट है. यूपीएससी CSC का इंटरव्यू यूपीएससी IFOS के इंटरव्यू से अलग है. IFOS का 70-75%, 80% इंटरव्यू टेक्निकल होने वाला है. तो आई विल एक्सपेक्ट यू टू नो टेक्निकल डिटेल्स ऑफ सिल्वी कल्चर वट, ठीक है. यहां मेरी तुमसे टेक्निकल एक्सपेक्टेशन बहुत ज्यादा हाई नहीं है. इट इज मोर ऑफ अ कॉन्वर्सेशन एंड यू गॉट टू बैक इट. अ लॉट ऑफ डिफरेंट पीपल विल गिव यू अ लॉट ऑफ डिफरेंट ओपिनियंस. So in the end, you have to be adult enough, know what works for you. But that was the entire idea. ठीक है. अब एक सजेशन है, उसके बाद we will open the forum for questions if any. सजेशन क्या है कि you have to do what? You have to prepare, जैसे I say you have to prepare PYQs. इसका PYQ कैसे तैयार करना है? Just get a what you call your mobile holder or whatever you call, and उस पर अपनी वीडियो बनानी शुरू करो सेल्फी कैमरा से 40-50 सेकंड की. क्या करो? सवाल उठाओ डैफ का जो तुमने कभी नहीं देखा है. ठीक है. व्हाट इज ग्रीन हाइड्रोजन? अपने दिमाग में सोचो, आई एम आस्क्ड दिस क्वेश्चन, व्हाट इज ग्रीन हाइड्रोजन, व्हाट आर द इश्यूज, एंड देन ट्राई टू रिस्पॉन्ड. कैमरे में उस वीडियो को शूट करो और उसके बाद अपनी वीडियो को खुद एनालाइज करो कि यार क्या मैं जल्दी जल्दी बोल रहा हूँ, डू आई साउंड वेरी रश्ड, या क्या देयर वाज अ लॉन्ग पॉज, क्या मेरा कंटेंट स्ट्रक्चर्ड था. उसके बाद उस आंसर को पीछे से इंप्रूव करोगे. ठीक है, मैं इसके बारे में एक नोट्स बनाऊं, मैं ये लिखता, ये लिखता, ये लिखता, ये लिखता, शुरू में इंप्रूव करता. उसके बाद 3 घंटे बाद उसको फिर से 50 सेकंड शूट करो, फिर देखो कितनी इंप्रूवमेंट हुई. यू हैव द ग्रुप, यू कैन सेंड इट ऑन द ग्रुप. देयर इज नो इनहिबिशन. यू हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड ऑल ऑफ यू आर इन द सेम बोट, all of you are together, there is no judgment, absolutely no judgment. So if you want me to have a look, group pe bhej dena, I can always help you. Others can also give their feedback, and you do this exercise over and over again. Only going to the mock interviews are trying to put everything together. It is like writing a 20 question का पूरा mock, but पहले एक एक सवाल तो घर पे लिखने की तैयारी करनी पड़ेगी ना, so that you get the knack of doing those 20 questions later. जिसने ये प्रैक्टिस में दिन 20 मिनट लगा दिए, तो यू विल बी above and in front of your entire competition, because not only are you just reading and making notes, you're practicing what you're actually going to do on the examination day. You're analyzing it, you're looking for iterative improvement. That was the entire point of the session, guys. I hope it helped you. Now is the time to ask questions, and let me also close the video once. ठीक है.